Good morning.
Good morning.
Who's been watching the Olympics? Shit, 4 of you and me? Well, that's good. Then that means nobody's going to see what we're going to have seen what we're going to show here in a second. So it's a little slow, but I love the moral of the story here at the end. You got it? Or well, Ellie's going to talk for a while, but just show the video anyway. So these two they're training partners, they're friends. The guy said, we need to discuss the jump off. The black gentleman said, can we get the light back there? Sorry. Said, can we both get gold? The guy says it's possible. That's when they start hugging each other. So this is a case where you can have 2 winners, right? Not just one. So I love the story. It was a little slow leading up to it, but I hope you enjoyed it. Is Scott still down here yet? Okay. Oh, he's getting his mojo so he can get his game on. Come on up here, Scott. We're going to run through a couple things here. Started out with, I don't know if you guys heard the news that, was it last week that Wisconsin announced that they were not going to allow Zillow to advertise for sell by owners. Did anyone see that? Yes. So Scott started sending out some emails to people in the Home Services Network to kind of find out what the status of that was. So I'm going to let him give us an update on that, and then the possibilities of that happening maybe in Nebraska also.
Yeah, so as you all know, Zillow became brokers in all 50 states because they're taking leads, they're doing that, and they felt like they needed to be licensed. Well, that means now that they have to play by state rules. And one of those rules in Wisconsin, which ironically Nebraska has too, which is if you're going to advertise something, you have to have a listing agreement for it. And so how can you advertise FSBOs on your website if you don't have a listing agreement? So the Wisconsin State Real Estate Commission basically sent a cease and desist out to them and said, you can't do this any longer. And so that's why they had to take down all their for sale by owners. Of course, they were really smart about it because they said, Zillow can help you list it, though. So they used it as a marketing opportunity for themselves at the same time. So that's what happened there. We assume most states will try to push for it.
So does Zillow have a broker in Wisconsin that will go list the property? Because in Nebraska they don't, but they do in some states, right?
Yeah,
and where they have the iBuyer program, my understanding is
correct.
They have agents where they'll do that.
Yeah, what they were talking about is basically feed those into their premier agents,
and they'll refer those out to
correct.
You. Okay,
correct. Someone's ring's going off,
so we will. Joe Gerke's not here, is he? Or Doug? Our 2 guys on the Real Estate Commission. Nowhere to be found when we need them. But I'm sure they're studying some tough stuff from the Real Estate Commission right now. But we'll talk to them, and we'll talk to some
the
other
Wisconsin
people.
rule is almost identical to the Nebraska rules. So
does that, to me, that's always been an unfair. I see you back there. That's always been an unfair advantage to Zillow. Is that the truth is, the public can go on Zillow and get all of our listings, plus all of the for sale by owners listings. So I think in the state of Nebraska, if you could get rid of for sale by owners, that would lead them towards maybe listing more houses. So I tend to see that as a positive. So if anyone disagrees, I guess you can raise your hand.
Well, also makes it a lot less desirable, right? If you can't be on Zillow with your FSBO.
Right. Yes. Can we run a microphone back? Thank you. 1 second, because they won't hear you on the outside of the wall there. The answer is, can someone just become a Zillow agent? And the answer is not really, because if you're a Zillow agent, you're probably spending right now thousands of dollars to get Zillow leads, right? So where's Mike? Mike, I mean, not even every area has even availability for someone if they wanted to start buying in today, could they? I mean, so there would have to be availability to buy in into an area to be a Zillow agent. Fair? Okay.
So does that also include the broker for sale by owner?
Are you talking about
They're not a broker.
Okay.
They're just a website.
So I have somebody that is listed on for sale by owner, but yesterday I noticed that does not show up on realtor.com or Zillow.
Right. They just put their stuff on their own website.
Okay. So
they're not a broker. They don't have listing agreements. They're just they're a website, for lack of a better word. And then they have a on-staff attorney who gets paid $25 to type up contracts. Not well, by the way.
High quality, upscale attorney. To that point, though, there is some of these kind of for sale by owner websites that are
That's
brokers.
the list with freedom, right?
That's List for Freedom, but there's a couple other one I think, right, that do have their broker's license that basically is getting you into MLS, and that's all they're doing.
And that's exactly what that
And
list
so
with freedom
it
is
would
doing.
depend on whether they have a broker's license and they're part of an MLS or if they're not. Any other questions on that? We want to go to the new contract, 18.1 through 18.5.
The inspection period, yeah.
18.3 talks about a 14-day due diligence period, so I want you to talk about that. Then I want to talk about maybe as part of negotiating the contract, what you can do on some options on that.
Right, correct. So this is a clause that no one's used for about 4 months, but you're using it now. And so it's the inspection period, which of course is a due diligence clause. It doesn't put in there, or you're not required to disclose what inspections you're going to do. And what it says is that you've got 14 days, and that's 14 days from the acceptance date, not from the contract date. So that's what you're focused on. The 14 days starts running on the acceptance date. You have 14 days to get all of your inspections done and respond back to the list agent as to what you want. And if you respond back and you say it's acceptable, great. If you don't respond back at all, then you're accepting it as is. If you respond back and say, here's the changes that we want made, after that 14 days is up, then the list agent and the list sellers have the right to take 4 days to respond back to you. If they don't respond back to you, then the contract automatically terminates. It just terminates, it goes away, it's done. You get your earnest money deposit back.
Or if there's not a mutual written agreement, right?
Correct.
So they can respond back,
right?
But both parties are going to have to mutually agree to whatever the terms
right.
and conditions are in writing, or you don't have a contract.
Correct.
Anymore.
That 4-day period is used to negotiate back and forth. And so it's supposed to, by the end of the 4 days, either you have an agreement in writing or the contract terminates.
So go ahead.
Calendar days or work?
Calendar days. It's yeah. Not business days.
Yes.
Is the date of acceptance or the date that the request for repairs is submitted, is that day 0 or day 1?
So the next one is day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4.
Submit it today. Submit it today. Yeah, tomorrow's day 1. So 14.
What is the 18 day? I saw something about 18 days.
So it's 14 and then 4. So that's the 18.
So it's 4 days from the date that they sent it to you, right?
And so remember if you want to cut it down, if you want to go from 14 days to 7 days.
Well, that's what I was exactly what I was going to say. So the question is, do you have to give them 14 days? Absolutely not. The purchase agreement is the agreement that is agreed to by the buyers and sellers. So you can counter anything that's pre-written in the agreement, right? It's pre-written, you have 14 days. If I'm a seller, I don't probably want to wait 14 days, especially when not many people have been doing home inspections. Nobody's been doing home inspections, as Scott said, until a month ago. So I think it would be reasonable to counter back saying we're going to give you 5 days, 7 days, 10 days, something shorter than 14 days. And then whatever's agreed upon in the purchase agreement is that time frame. And then the 4 days does then start.
Right. And remember, it says 18 days, so it doesn't say 4 days. And
Okay,
so
that's what I was going to say.
That's why you got to. Yeah.
So then you'd have to, so the second part of that is if you've said 7 days for argument's sake, then you need to make the second part of that 11 days. So you would need to put that in your purchase agreement, both those. Otherwise, you could have 7 days, and then you've still got out to 18 days total
Yeah, the seller,
that you're dragging this thing out.
Seller
So
could
your
wait
purpose
another,
is to shorten the time
another
frame.
8 days if they wanted to. Right.
Questions about that? Yes.
I would say if you gave them 7 days, then they only have 4 days to respond.
So you,
Total of 11, right?
so put that in there. Yeah. So you would need to put that. But the way the contract's pre-written, if you say you have 7 days of due diligence and you don't address the response time, the contract is written that they still have 18 days, correct?
Right. And we've had this happen. We've had where they tighten it up to 4 days.
We've had everything happen.
Right. And then the buyer
You
the
guys
buyer
can't
has to
make
wait.
any more mistakes. We've got them all covered already.
The buyer has to wait another 14 days to respond from the seller agent. So that's the waiting's the hardest part on
I
that.
saw a hand up somewhere. I apologize. Yes.
So, like what Lynn was saying, I think the best way to write that, because I've done it that way on both sides, is to shorten all timelines of Section 18 by 7 days. And then you don't have to write, this one's this many, this one's this many.
Yep.
You're
Right.
just subtracting 7 from the
Yeah.
total.
Good way to do it. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Simple's good, guys. Simple's good.
The other thing to think about on the 18 one is, of course, it's also changed the language. We were used to A, B, and C, right? And so when you write things like for inspection purposes only, there's still clauses within paragraph 18. Unless you completely remove paragraph 18, you create issues that become debates between agents as to whether that meant that they have to buy it if they don't, or whatever. So just be very, very clear. Read through that, because there's clauses in there where it says, 18.13 is the right to get out of it if you don't like the inspection. So read through it, and then when you're writing your addendums, be very careful as to what you actually mean. Do you mean it's for inspection purposes only and they're buying it, they don't have a right to get out? Write that in there. And if you're on the other side, and if you mean inspection purposes only, but you want to reserve the right to get out if it's not acceptable, write that in there. You got to be clear on that, and you're going to cut down on a lot of debates.
Daryl.
Just a reminder, we have 3 different clauses already pre-written for you in the template, so you can just click on it.
On the inspection resolution, right?
In writing the contract.
Right.
In paragraph 10.
Perfect.
And I do have a big announcement. I've got my new book coming out that I probably is going to be a New York Times bestseller, Dress for Success. I'll be on the cover. Scott will be on the inside cover. I never, when he was at CBS, would have been able to put him in the book, but since he's grown, since he's been over here, his dress code has now met the successful mark of years and years. And I see my dad back here in the back, who told me in 1996, if I didn't wear a suit, I'd never be successful, which is the last time I ever bought a suit. So my success, I credit 100% to my dad.
Thanks, Don.
Someone's got a microphone back there. I don't know who. I apologize.
So Scott, just
Lisa.
to clarify, if the buyer submits their inspection resolution to the seller on day 2 after acceptance, then that seller still has the remaining 12 days to respond?
Wow. Boy, let's greaseboard this. What are we talking about, math-wise? You're right. If you don't, so again, that's the whole, right, because the contract says 14 days and then 18 days. So it spells out 14 and 18. And so unless you cut both, you're going to,
Okay,
you're still leaving 18 days out there,
gotcha.
which
Okay.
is an eternity.
So I want to go back to one thing. In this 14 days due diligence, because what this came up in a mastermind group yesterday was what happens if the buyer doesn't give any response in 14 days. And the answer is if no response is given in 14 days, the contract states that basically they're automatically accepting it, which would be normal terminology of what would be like in a due diligence for a commercial contract.
Correct.
That's kind of what they followed.
Yep.
So if you've got a buyer and they don't respond in that 14-day time frame, that buyer needs to understand they've accepted the terms and conditions and have not asked for any repairs or anything to be done. And then the exact opposite happens after 18 days. If they do give a response, then, and after 18 days, there's not something reduced to writing, buyers and sellers agreeing to that, the contract is void. So one is it's being accepted automatically. The other one is it's being void automatically.
And that is
so I need to make sure you guys understand that, because that's where we had confusion yesterday.
And that's important too, because that's the reverse of what the old contract did. The old contract would say if seller responded and you didn't accept it, you were still buying the house as is, which didn't make a lot of sense. Now it works better, which is you got to come to an agreement within that 4-day period. And once you do, great. And if you don't, it's just done and over with. So it works more logically in my mind.
So if you got any questions on that, grab one of us and we'll walk through it with you. Last thing that came up in our mastermind group yesterday, most of these are Lisa Richardson issues. She has a lot of, shit, if I knew she was in the room, I never would have said that. Is are contracts assignable? And so in the state of Nebraska, by law, a contract is assignable unless otherwise stated in the purchase agreement. So if I buy a property, the seller accepts that, and I later say I want to assign that contract to Scott, I can do that. But here's the caveat to that. All terms and conditions of that agreement that was initially agreed upon by myself as the buyer and the seller, if Scott would not meet those for some reason, then I would still be obligated to close on that contract. I'm not relieved of my right of meeting the terms and conditions of that contract unless you perform on those and close on those.
New buyer has to prove that they have the financial wherewithal to get a loan approved, all the other stuff that was. You can't just kick it off to somebody who can't close.
Right, and that's that.
Who's your client then?
Well, so here's.
Thank you, Fred.
So the buyer, so you've got a buyer's agent separate from the listing agent, I'm assuming is what you're asking, right? And so the question is, who's the client of the agent? I'd say the buyer's the client of, the original buyer's the client of the agent. Because the,
Need a new agency and everything then for
No.
both people.
Correct. You're going to have if you're going to take over a new party, then you're going to have
Well,
an agency disclosure.
if I assign that to you,
Right.
there doesn't necessarily, you don't necessarily have to have an agent involved in that process.
No, I mean, you can step away, but if you want to act as the agent, you better get an agency.
Right. So if you're
disclosure,
going to continue to negotiate, right, if you're
Right.
going to continue, if you're going to now represent the new buyer, you would need to get an agency relationship, but your agency relationship would still continue to be the client. The answer, I think, Fred's question would be the original buyer,
unless that buyer's fully released. Yeah.
unless that buyer's fully released. If I'm a seller, I would never release buyer number one unless you were giving me something
Correct.
extra to do that.
Right.
Now,
What happened if they refuse to pay the broker commission?
Well, they've already
they've already
agreed to it. Yeah.
You assign it to.
Well, the one you're signing to is the buyer. The commission's being paid by the seller. This is real estate 103. I know you're still in 102, Fred. Yeah, see,
But you're just doing an addendum to assign it to the next.
you're assigning it to the person.
Right.
And this happens in commercial properties all the time. People assign it to LLCs or entities that they do after they purchase a property.
Constantly. Yeah.
Now, here's where it gets tricky, okay, which I think actually might have been where Fred is going, is sometimes somebody assigns a contract because a second person, when I see this typically, somebody assigns a contract because buyer number two says, well, I'll pay you 5 or 10 or 50. I really wanted that property. I'll pay you $10,000 to take over your contract. And they have a separate agent. Now the question is, who gets paid? I would argue, I'm looking here because I don't have 100% clarity on this.
I'm going to agree with anything that gets us paid. So
I would agree that Brian, we've had these in the past.
Yeah, let's vote. Let's say what everybody else says.
What do you want to vote?
Well, we're gonna vote, does the,
Can we do this under 22 minutes?
second agent get paid?
First agent or second agent? Okay, raise your hand if you think the first agent gets paid.
Who says first?
Raise your hand if you think the second agent gets paid.
Yeah, why is that one? That-
Raise. Oh my God! Is it time for him to retire? So I would say the first agent gets paid unless there's an agreement. So the second agent, if you're coming in as a second agent, you got to figure out how you're going to get paid in
right.
this thing.
You
And
better have a
probably,
separate compensation agreement.
in most cases, exactly, it's the buyer it's buyer number two that's going to need to pay you.
Right.
That's been what we've told them when we've had these situations.
Right. Because we brought the deal, we put the deal together. We're entitled to get it.
The last question on this is, which I did not have an answer to. I know it's Nebraska, the contracts are signable in the state of Iowa, because we do a chunk of deals in Iowa. Is by law in Iowa, can they assign those also? Do you
Generally,
know?
contracts are freely assignable. I mean, unless they have specifically limiting language. That's pretty
Okay.
standard in most states.
That doesn't happen very often when it's written by an agent. Most of the stuff happens, these wholesalers,
And they're flipping them to someone else, right?
And they put that right in their contract.
it doesn't happen on a.
I agree.
Do we want to talk about the change on the broker exclusive form, just the new name?
Yes. I forgot about that.
Mark?
One thing, our contract, I think Iowa's does too, I think it's paragraph 4, is the purchaser agrees to transfer it to the purchaser or his nominee.
Right.
Right.
Even though it's not state law, we've already got that standard language, because the nominee is that second signed person.
Thank you. Damn, you look skinny. You look good, Mark. You look good.
Battery's back here.
So go ahead, Ellie. Anyone that doesn't know Ellie Bain, she sat here for many, many years. She took a year or two off, but she is always going to ask a question or two. So just sales meetings are back when Ellie's back. That's why we have a big attendance. They knew you were going to be here, Ellie.
It seems minor to me, but in the new contract, the rationale to put down that possession will be given by 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Why is that in there?
You know, I don't know. I mean, I think the idea.
It seems stupid to me.
Yeah, I think the idea was they were trying to put some time on there to make sure that these people were out as opposed to being open-ended.
Okay, leave
Although
blank.
closing itself would have taken care of that.
Leave a blank and let them
Right. And of course, you can change that in paragraph 10 if you want to.
change it.
Yep.
I mean, it seems.
You've learned always agree with her, otherwise we'll run
Just
out
keeps
of time.
going. I absolutely agree with you, Ellie. I continue to agree. You are right. No, I'm agreeing. How dare you? I'm just agreeing.
Real quick, run through the
So
broker exclusives.
Yeah, the broker Daryl probably remembers the title, what they put it on there now, but what is it? Elimination of MLS benefits. So they changed the name of the broker exclusive addendum in the MLS from broker exclusive, office exclusive, to elimination of MLS benefits, which is a lot like the old form used to be. And they did this because, frankly, they of course want to encourage properties to go in the MLS. They want to, because that's the cooperative. So they're trying to get that, and they have some things in there about, you're eliminating your benefits. You might get less money by doing a broker exclusive, but all of the rule has not changed. Everything's the same under the same rule. Nothing changed, just the title changed with a little kind of foreword for it about why it's beneficial to go into the MLS.
Yeah, the other brokers do not like this because they're doing next to none of these, and we're doing obscene now these. I'm going to go through some statistics in a minute, which is going to show you exactly how many non-MLS deals we're doing, which is an incredible number.
Maybe have them talk about coming soon signs and making the end.
Coming soon signs, and so coming soon and no showing. Okay.
Yeah, so again, just like in Wisconsin, you can't advertise something without a listing agreement. It has to be an active listing agreement. So if you want to do a coming soon, you have to have an active listing agreement. Plus, you have to have filled out the coming soon addendum and have it in the MLS. You've got to do all that stuff. And so,
And the MLS rules state till it's actively on the market, you can't show it to anybody or.
Correct. So if you were to put a coming soon sign in a yard that you don't have a listing agreement on, you're violating two different rules. You're violating an MLS rule and a real estate commission rule and regulation. So that's a really bad one. If you're advertising, well, see, generally what you do with new construction is you're doing a marketing agreement where you're advertising that builder and their product and something like that. You're not really listing a property. And so that's the way we've not gotten around it, but a way to do it. Because as long as we have an agreement in place with the seller or the builder that we can market and advertise their buildings, their properties, or models, then you're okay.
All right. Are we done, Scott? Perfect. Maggie, are you going to run through HomeBot for me real quick and AdWorks or not?
Sure.
All right.
I'll
And
come
then
up.
we're gonna roll on some stuff.
What about AdWorks?
Okay. Well, AdWorks. No, HomeBot.
I can do HomeBot.
Yeah.
So, I am still getting people that kind of reach out and say, "Oh, I didn't know we could get HomeBot for $12 a month instead of $25." So, if you are in that category of somebody that already has HomeBot, reach out, let me know. We'll get you rolled into our billing. So that's one. If you're sitting here going, "What the heck's HomeBot?" HomeBot is the program. It's an automated valuation that is emailed out to your clients. But I want to step back when I say automated valuation because it's an email report. It's a digest of their market value. The cool thing with it is it does, you can attach it to a lender. So all of our Prosperity lenders are in it. There's other lenders in the market that are available. But when you attach it to the lender, it gives that consumer what their buying power currently is. And so what it's doing is it's spurring a lot of CMA requests for agents. It's gaining a lot of interest with, I can list my house for how much, and then I can go out and buy this much bigger of a house. And it breaks that all down. It allows your client to kind of adjust their values a little bit.
We made these updates, and it's kind of like a Zestimate for argument's sake.
Yeah.
But you can get more detailed on it.
It's more detail, and it's using bank data. So it should be a little bit more accurate. Again, it's not supposed to be perfect, though. That's why they call you. And so that's come up a couple times, like, well, it's not exactly right. We probably don't want it to be exactly right. We want them to call somebody, in the room to get that real CMA. It has a 60 to 75% open rate. So the more of our agents that have been using this since we did a pilot period in November, December timeframe. Right. And now, what is it, August already? Those rates are increasing on a monthly basis. Marla's nodding her head. So everybody that's in that pilot program, it's $12 a month. It's not a pilot anymore. Everybody that wants to use it,
it's offered for $12 a month to everyone in the company.
$12 a month. If you're not on it and you're interested, let me know. It does take a little bit of time to get those contacts loaded in there. And then the valuations kind of go out and they stagger them, so they're not all going out the same day. The other cool thing is you can see how many times the spouse forwarded it to the other spouse. You can see how many times they clicked in and adjusted their value. There's a lot of easy call to actions where you can pop in and go, ooh, I need to call this person. They're showing a lot of interest in what their home value is.
Yep. So again, it's sent out monthly. We've continued to say downward pressure on commissions. The number one thing we've got to do is continue to build stronger relationships, to communicate and stay connected more frequently for more value. We believe this is something that allows you electronically to stay connected monthly and to have an open rate, again, of 60% plus on an email thing when it's going out every single month is one of these things that just enhances your ability to stay in touch with them. And then there's a call to action to you that if they want to get a market analysis to do that. So to me, to have a 65, 70% open rate is incredible on a monthly basis. And it's not just the first or second month, it continues over time to have a high open rate. So I would recommend you look at it. It was $25 a month. We had a chunk of people that were paying the $25 a month for 2 or 3 years that all have been converted to our program at $12 a month. AdWorks.
AdWorks is still AdWorks is.
Do you want me to talk about AdWorks?
I can. Oh,
you go ahead.
I mean, it's still available. It is offered through the franchise. So you take a listing. It takes a couple days. They have to build that ad. But in Resource Center, you should always pop into AdWorks and add your seller's email address, because once you add your seller's email address, it creepily stalks them on the internet and shows up their listing on their search feed. So like if I'm listed at Stacy's in my line site, if I'm listed with Stacy and she adds my email address and I'm popped on to Google or Facebook or whatever it is, I'm going to see my house just because she took that extra step. That causes that listing to have a higher open rate. It makes your sellers happy. So it's free for 7 days still. Then you can add on additional advertising dollars
5
or
weeks
impressions.
for $202 or something like that.
And you'll sell it on day 7 or 8. You can bank that credit for your next listing. So it's not like you pay for it and you lose it after you sell it. If you're out there marketing several properties, you can roll it into the next one.
Here's what I want you to think about. Berkshire Hathaway called me 2 or 3 months ago and said, you guys have incredibly low, this is a bad thing, open rate on AdWorks. Why is that? And the light bulb wasn't going to, I said, it's because we're selling houses in a day. So what good does it do to have the free week? But then we were sitting in a mastermind group. I think it was with you, Heather. If not, it was with Jay. We were sitting in a mastermind group and somebody said, actually, I think it was Jay. Where's Jay at? Oh, hi, Jay. Hi, Jay. And someone says, even if I sell a house in a day, I still put it on AdWorks because I'm getting 1 week free. It looks, my seller sees it, right? So I'm getting more exposure to my seller, building a stronger relationship with them, but it's also going out to everybody else in the marketplace. So why would, if part of what our franchise fee pays for is they pay, I think last time I heard it's $3.some million a year for us to have this relationship with AdWorks to get this free 1 week. So even if you're selling a house in a day, I would still encourage you to go and put the seller's name on there and do the free week of AdWorks and get exposure to yourself to people out there in the marketplace, letting them see that you had a listing that was out there and getting you exposure. Does that make sense? I think the mindset was, which was mine, is if it's selling immediately, why do we need AdWorks? Well, it's to increase your exposure to the marketplace. And it's something that you're already paying for through your royalty fee, basically. Questions or thoughts on that? Is anybody use? Go ahead, Lynn. And then is.
So if we don't put their email address on, then it doesn't go out?
No, it still goes out. They just may not see it.
But if you really want because you're trying to get additional exposure to your seller, right? And it's the same thing. They have the database one, right? Where you can market to your database for a year. Well, it's by putting all those people's email addresses in there. When they go to Wall Street Journal or ABC or whatever they're going to, you're going to keep popping up all the time. So again, it's one of these other things of getting you additional exposure to your clients. So it makes no sense not to put the email address of your seller on there because all you're doing is increasing your exposure. And they're like, oh my God, what a great job of marketing you're doing. Thus, they're hopefully going to tell other people what you've done.
I thought that if it's sold and it went pending, they didn't put it on AdWorks. I thought it might disappear.
If
That's what was happening was our houses were selling so fast that
it does take 1 to 2 days to build. So if it sells on the first day, You may not be able to run it as an active listing, but you can manually run it as a sold.
So let's get clarity on this. But my understanding, even if it sells, you can still get that free week. So let's figure out exactly how that is, and we'll report back to you. Mike, you had a confused look on your face.
It's just my face.
I'm sorry? It does continue to run. Yeah.
I thought it ran the first 7 days no matter what, even if it sells.
I think it does.
To piggyback on what you said, I've been using it for buyers and doing it in the email AdWords and then putting the buyer's email address in, right?
You can do that too.
That can be either seller.
Right.
Yes.
You're adding your buyer's email address
All my customers.
in AdWorks? Yep. In your Sphere marketing? Yeah.
This is the Sphere campaign.
Yep.
Campaign,
So you
yes.
you basically upload your client database, and that helps your ads show up on their browsing, phone, website, all those things.
Tell me if I'm incorrect. There's 3 buckets, right? You have the free week, and then if you want to continue to advertise your listings, you can buy 5-week times at a period at a time, and if you take one off after 5 days, again, you have 5 weeks for $200 some.
Yep.
You have the sphere of influence bucket where you want it, if you got 400 or 500 people in you want to put every one of their email addresses on there to make sure that they're seeing you, but then you can also farm a neighborhood, which would be the third
Yeah, you can buy a
thing that
zip
they do.
code.
So you can do any one of these 3 things. They're all different programs.
Yep.
Does that make sense to everybody? Have we had,
We
Jay?
can have AdWorks come in and do another training session.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Jay, have we had an AdWorks class lately? Do you know? Okay, so we'll maybe promote the heck out of that next time we have another one of these. But it makes no sense that you would not be using it. Anything else, guys? Yes.
We got an email yesterday from through Resource that AdWords had these new templates that are amazing. Just FYI, if you already buy plans and campaigns with them, you can't use any of those new templates. You have to cancel your campaign and restart it up because the templates only work with new campaigns. They don't work with old campaigns, which really sucks, to be honest. Whatever. And then you have to use the templates that say AdWords, not Chalk Digital, because Chalk Digital won't work with the AdWords campaigns. It took me 2 hours with between AdWords and Berkshire Hathaway.
But you're slow. What would it take a normal person?
See Julie for AdWorks questions.
Heather's rolling
Julie.
her eyes at me, and so is my wife. That's BS, Julie. They're all taken up for you.
Julie, I'll reach out to our account rep and just ask.
Yeah, that doesn't make
We've got
sense.
a guy. That doesn't seem fair.
That
so
seems
I
ridiculous.
reached out to a guy named named Steve. I'll let you know. Yeah, that seems silly.
So, Julie, we're sorry for your pain. All right, statistics.
Oh.
Nope. One more question. I apologize.
No, that's okay. Going back to HomeBot, is there a way to export those contacts to an Excel spreadsheet?
There is. It's about 17 steps.
So repeat the question because the people in the back can't
She
hear.
asked if there was a way to export your contacts out of HomeBot, and there is. I will. Yeah.
If you send them to me, I'll make an attempt.
Yep. It's. I'm not even going to explain it here. There are steps to do that. So.
Cool.
Okay.
Real quick, before we get into statistics, Sunshine Kids, we're still waiting for Reese to do a party or something till he's ready for that. We've continued, I'm looking at Pat here. We've talked to Pat, I think, last week, just trying to figure out what that's going to be. And we initially said we were going to do a Sunshine Kid every month. When we got all the chairmen of our committees back together, we decided let's do it once a quarter versus once a month. And then we'll continue to have ongoing fun. We have, $4,500? Ashley, you're $4,500 plus already in the thing. So what we'll do is we've got already 3 or 4 people that have sent us people that they thought would be a good candidate for the next Sunshine Kids. So we will look at all those here before the next sales meeting and then announce our next one. So we'll continue to do this, but we're going to do it quarterly versus monthly and then keep moving forward on that type of thing. And we're also looking at, I think it was Ashley's idea, starting to maybe figure out how can we do some events, whether it's outside of having just special for the kids, some cool cars and bring in an ice cream truck or a snow cone truck or something like that for them and invite their families. And we're going to coordinate with Children's and the Med Center to see what we can start doing to start allowing these kids, because they've not been taking trips because of COVID the last year and a half. We've not been sending them down to our suite because there hasn't been concerts and events to send them to. So we want to start doing some things for as many of these kids as humanly possible. And if you have somebody that you know that's got a kid of cancer, connect up with us so we can get them in the loop and connect it with the Sunshine Kids. Cool? So thank you. I want to run through some stats. So we put out these stats, I think, 2 weeks ago, probably tomorrow.
2 weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah. So where are these at, Daryl or Maggie, someone?
They're on the bhssamb.com, and then you log in. It's under resources.
Does everyone know where these are at?
And then they're in Facebook. I posted them to the Facebook private group under files. And it's in your
and
email.
they're in your email so you don't look at. We know that. Forget about the emails. So a couple things. We just got done talking about broker exclusive. Last year, remember, we did 530 million plus of non-MLS deals. Halfway through the year, last year, we were at 279. We're on target to do over $700 million of non-MLS deals this year. This is one of the reasons where's Scott at?
Right here.
This is one. Better Homes and Gardens is the most upset about this conversation, right?
They're not happy.
Nebraska Realty probably is the second most upset.
All we're doing is following the rules.
Right. But the number of MLS deals that you guys are doing, upper end deals, new construction deals, right? A lot of the custom new construction deals don't go through MLS, and even some lots and land deals. I mean, 700 million would be the fourth or fifth largest company in the marketplace. So we're doing an incredible amount. But here's one thing that I want to point out to you guys, okay? We've increased for the first 6 months $260+ million of sales volume. You guys have closed over $260 million plus of sales volume. Now, other companies come out and they're like, well, we're the fastest growing real estate company in Omaha. That's never been true for the last 15 years. We've been the fastest growing. When you look at how much business you did one year versus how much business you do the next year, we continue to be the fastest growing company in Omaha. So we increased 250. So Nebraska Realty are 260 million plus. They haven't even increased 90 million. MP Dodge has increased 60 million. Better Homes and Gardens, who says they're the fastest growing company, hasn't even increased 150 million. We've increased our sales volume this year more than the next three combined. So we want to get these graphs out to you to put out myths about that we're not doing business. We're doing tons of business, and that's the reason I thought it was so important. But we're even growing our business $170 million just MLS stuff, not even counting all the non-MLS stuff. And we do more than non-MLS stuff than everybody else combined, probably times two. So you guys are doing a great job of growing. Can we go to the next graph? I don't care, just pick one out. Iowa, who's got an Iowa license in here? Guys, you're killing it in Iowa. Look at where we came from. When we really started trying to get going on this, back in 15, 16, we didn't have much market share. Heartland was up there at 33% market share. Last year, if you would have added the agents volume in that came to us from Heartland and other companies, we would have been number one. This year, we're clearly number one. We're at 21.5% market share. Heartland's number two at 20. And Dodge, so Dodge's went from 28% to 17%. Heartland's went from 33% to 20%. And we're sitting now at 21.5%. So we are the largest broker in the Council Bluffs marketplace now. So congratulations to you guys. And make sure you're using these graphs when you're over there doing business in Iowa, okay?
That's units and volume.
That's units and volume. Perfect. And yes, so here's the volume, and I don't know where the units are at. We have it on a different graph? Okay. Next graph. So this is kind of a graph showing everything. I wanted to show, I just went over this with Gino in my quarterly review last week.
How'd you do?
I didn't get fired. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But here's our market shares for all at the top per MLS, all metropolitan, Douglas County, Sarpy County, the executive market, which again, we believe we have 60+% because of all the non-MLS upper end new construction and executive listings we do, and the amount and what we have for active listings relative to the market, a little bit over 40%. And then I came down here, and this is all of our numbers, internal numbers, counting all of our numbers. We were up out of 3 out of the 4 categories gauging against the market. Closed units year to date for 6 months again, we were up 1.4%. The market was up 3.9%. So that was the only thing that we were down against. New pendings year to date, we were down 1.9%, but the market's down 3.3%. So we're outperforming this year new pending business versus the market. Closed residential business, we're up 17.3%. The market's up 9.1%. So we're about double the market in what our increased business is. Average sales price, we're up 15.7%. The market's up 14.3%. So you guys are doing a great job out there. I think that when you look at the first half of the year and all of the craziness, a lot of the discount brokers that were doing things for low fees stole some business from us. I can't tell you how many mastermind groups have we been in, Heather, where people are like, we lost it to someone that said they would rather go with us, but we wouldn't match the 3.5% to 4% they were doing. What I'm seeing is this market slows down and there's not 20, 30 offers coming in. There's not 50 showings. This is becoming more of a normal market. There's always a flock to quality, right, when the market normalizes or gets tough. And so I think as it gets to a point where the consumer starts saying, I need an agent, they're gonna pay us because we need to show our value. That's the reason it's so important for us to continue to build and nurture these relationships with them and show them value in the process. That's why we push things like HomeBot. We don't make a dime on HomeBot, guys. There's no kickbacks to us in any of these programs we do. The programs that we implement because we believe they're gonna help you build stronger, more valuable relationships with your clients. So I believe the second half of the year, if it stays at this pace we've seen, because we've seen a traumatic slowdown, right, of getting 15 to 30 offers to getting 1 to 4 or 5 offers on houses, I think there's going to be more of a flock back to let's list with somebody that we know can get the job done versus let's just get it in MLS. So I tend to think the second half of the year, these numbers are going to even be more favorable for us than the first half of the year. We'll see if that's right or wrong, but yes.
I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Go ahead. I would expect this, Ellie.
Numbers of agents
Yep.
for the production.
Yep.
That would impress me much more.
Well, I'll be damned. Allie said number of agents per production would impress her a lot more than what we're doing as a company. So let's find another chart. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Okay. All right. I'll be a horse's behind. Okay. I knew we brought her back for a reason.
That makes so much more sense to me than the overall.
Well, and here's the myth. I can guarantee you Nebraska Realty will be advertising in the next year. We're the largest real estate company in the state of Nebraska because they'll have the most agents. Now, to me, that's the most embarrassing advertisement in the world because they're doing a third of the business. Because they have like 900 agents, we have like 950 agents. But they're doing 14% market share. We're doing 38% market share. I'm not very impressed with below average results.
But don't we deduct a bunch of agents from that count, like people that are like?
No.
Productive, yeah.
So
we use agents who are actually productive versus
active agents. Okay.
Licensed
So
assistants.
so let's start here. We gave this statistic to you last year, remember? Over here on the side, you see percentages. We did this for the last 12 months because we wanted a full year in here, right? So for the last 12 months, to give us an accurate number on this, this shows what percent of agents, licensed agents at each company, did a transaction, meaning producing agents, they did a transaction. We had 17% of our agents that did no transactions. It includes Brian, Scott, and I, okay? And we have more licensed assistants not doing deals than any other company in the marketplace. If I come down here to Nebraska Realty and Keller Williams Elite, they had 37 and 38% of their agents that did no deals in the last 12 months. So again, that number, which was very similar to the numbers that we ran last year, these numbers have not been changing much. Last year, the numbers were very similar to these numbers. So again, you guys are doing more deals on average than everybody else. And then over here, it shows, what the per agent productivity is. So I would use these because in some of our mastermind groups, we've had people come up and say, talk about if you're doing talk about the business you're doing, and if you're competing against somebody, say, why don't you look at how much business they're doing? That when you're competing against these agents doing 1 or 2 deals a year, it's not very hard to show your value for them to pay you more to do business with you, because there's no way anybody in their right mind can do 1 or 2 or 3 deals a year and really believe that they're giving the proper service to the consumer, because you're too many things have changed. More things have changed in this industry over the last 2 years than we've seen change over the last 15 years. So if you're not doing any deals and you're competing against somebody that's saying, I'll do it for 3.5 or 4%, that does 2 or 3 deals, bring up these type of things. And so, yes, I'm on a roll right now.
This is just MLS too. This is not including everything we
Again, this is MLS only. This doesn't include what we think is going to be that $700 million of business that we're doing, which is way more than everyone else. So this would be more slanted towards us than anybody else. So that's the reason that number 530 last year and on target for 700 million this year is an important number. One of the things I've always said that I think you should be talking about when you're trying to add value to a seller is when you're in that listing presentation, I think you need to be talking about that. Listen, you know, we're the largest broker in the marketplace, okay? But what's that mean to you? When we give a statistic, we always got to explain what's that mean to the buyer or seller, right? Because they don't care. Nobody cares we're the largest, to Ellie's point, right? What's that mean to them? What it means to them is, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, my job, the job of any good listing agent is to create interest and activity to drive as many people, right? To make as many people see your property as possible, right? We want to create interest and activity to drive to the consumer's home. That if we can do that, we're increasing the likelihood of getting your house sold for more and sold faster. The best way I know to do that is to talk to other productive agents that I see on a daily basis. And then you go back and you talk about our private Facebook page. We have an internal Facebook page just for our agents. We have the most productive agents in the marketplace working with more potential buyers, more executive buyers, more relocating buyers, more online lead buyers, right? Any buyer you're talking about. Our agents are the most productive agents in the marketplace, working with more potential buyers than anybody else in the marketplace. We're in the largest office in North America. If you're in this office, say that. And I see agents on a daily basis. We have the private Facebook page. We have an internal email system. Use those things as an advantage to tell the consumer, this is what this means to you. I'm going to get you increased exposure, showings, activity on your property because of these things. Saying the number without explaining what that means to the consumer does no good to us. Are you impressed now, Ellie, with the numbers?
That's exactly.
Thank God. Thank God. Don't retire. Come back and keep reeling me in, baby. All right. Go back to the other one we had real quick, I guess, here. And I think we're about... So, again, these are just a quick one showing the markets that we showed on that other graph. So use these. Again, guys, if you're out in Gretna, Bennington, West Omaha, our numbers are even bigger than this. So go into a neighborhood. If you're farming a neighborhood and you know you own that neighborhood, go into that neighborhood and show just those neighborhood things. Now, another little trick that you can do, right, is that if you're in a neighborhood and you're farming the neighborhood and we've got 43% market share, you could go through and say there was 10 because I can do the math in my head on this. There was 10 transactions. And so on 2 of those, we were on both sides, okay? But on the rest of them, we were just the listing agent or just the buyer's agent. So of those 10 transactions, we might have been involved in 6 or 7 of them. In that case, you can say our company participated in 70% of the transactions in the neighborhood. We might only have 42% market share, but we participated in 70%, right? Because if you're on one side, if you're on opposite sides, we were involved in 7 of the 10 transactions, even though when you count both sides, we have that. Does that make sense to you? But look, get specifically, drill down on the neighborhood you're going to and expand even upon these, because there's going to be many neighborhoods that we have numbers higher than what these are. This is the executive market. So Scott, you put these numbers down here. Are they right?
They are correct.
I looked at him. I wasn't positive, but I'm trusting Scott on this. So we've closed already for the first 6 months of the year, 235 more, 500,000 plus houses than last year. Okay, and $160 million more volume than last year. So a big part of our volume is that upper end market, right? All right, is that all of our graphs? Guys, who uses these graphs when you're going out for listing presentations? And good, because I'm glad we're not doing these for nothing. Because I know that when we don't update them regularly, that someone all of a sudden then is calling me saying, why don't we do these? So we want you to use these. These things should give you a competitive advantage when we're in the marketplace against our competition. Any thoughts, any questions?
Below this,
We can get those. We can get that, Fred. I mean, that'll help 3 or 4 agents. Fred and who else? Fred and Ellie. No. And the truth is, to your point, Fred, we have more agents working with investors buying those homes than anybody else also, right?
There we go. That's a chart.
Yeah. So would you say it's safe as this market shifted the last 60 days? Investors are getting back and engaged in the marketplace. So we have seen, Carrie, you're gonna have to help me here to make sure I get these numbers right. We have seen since Memorial Day weekend, number of showings, number of offers slow down tremendously. And so when you're listing something today, there's no guarantee you're going to get for that house what you would have got back in March, April, May. And again, I like using numbers. So the numbers, Heather, help me here. The numbers back in April, mid-April, Jay Brown, come scoot this way if you can, if I get these numbers wrong, was about, for all listings, including new construction in Douglas and Sarpy County, was mid-4s. Is that right? Mid-April is like mid-4s. We're now setting 900 plus. So the number of active listings for the whole market has went from 450-ish to 900 and something. So we've doubled the number of listings. So listings have went from here to here. The number of buyers, though, has went from here to here. So that's the reason we're not getting 10 offers. So this thing stabilizes itself. So it's pretty simple to explain to people. Simple supply and demand is when we had this many listings and this many buyers, yeah, we were getting 10, 15, 20 offers on a house. Now we've doubled the number of listings. We've decreased the number of buyers. Why have we decreased the number of buyers? We keep talking about this. People have been taking vacations. They didn't take vacations last year. People are going to weddings, right? They're going to, they're going to concerts, events. They're focused on other activities today. Last year, they were just kind of focused on buying houses. Interest rates had just dropped. They were working from their home. Their home was more important to them. So I do believe once we get past Labor Day, this will pick back up. But this to me is a great opportunity for those buyers, FHA and VA buyers. We're seeing those get done all the time. Buyers are actually being able to ask for a home inspection, right? Scott said we hadn't done it. We heard in one mastermind group, a seller paid $5,000 of the buyer's closing costs. We haven't heard that for, I don't even know what's the last time. So if you got a buyer that didn't have enough money, had FHA or VA or something like that, get them back into the marketplace. I think it makes sense to do that before Labor Day weekend. I tend to believe all the kids get back in school, Labor Day gets done, September, October, I tend to believe the number of buyers in the marketplace will pick up a little bit. And then again, we always slow down November, December, January, winter comes, the holidays come, so forth. Any questions about market share, any of this type of stuff that we're sharing with you guys? We want to make sure in our mastermind groups and in these meetings, we're educating you. I believe the average agent is 3 to 4 months behind what the market's doing. The average consumer is even farther behind than that. And that's what's creating the problems for us right now. We're going to list properties and sellers are saying, my friend, my neighbor down the street, blah, 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 had so many showings, had so many offers, had so much over list price, and that's the expectation that's set in their head right now. And then we've got to sit down and make sure that we're explaining to them, here's what the market's done. Now, when I talk about the number of buyers is coming down, the number of offers is slowed down, and the number of sellers is increased, the one thing I don't want to confuse, you guys are still selling lots of houses. Last month, 2 months, for the month of June, I think we sold 1,350 or 1,350-ish, give or take 10 houses. That's a great month. This month, we're on target to hit 1,300 plus. We're 12 something with a couple of days of trailing average here, probably 1,300. So 1,300 new pending transactions, and that's a good number because if deals fall through during the month, we take those out of there. So you guys are still selling tons of houses. We've only sold over 1,500 houses in a given month once, right? So if we're still hitting 1,300, that's a great month. So you're still selling tons of houses, but I do think it's coming back to normal market, which I think is an advantage for you guys, the agent, building relationships, showing value to get business and to continue to grow what you're doing. So, woo!
Take a breath.
Jay, Heather, anything that really pops out in the mastermind groups that something we need to share with everybody that I missed here?
Corky, do you want to come up here, please? Corky, can you hear me out there?
Oh, I see him back there. Anything that stands?
Being creative on using those trucks, like help.
Being creative, okay. we're gonna Kevin, I don't know if Kevin Baumeister's in here, but Jay said being creative. We had an agent that said, one is we've got great results of people saying, I love those trucks, because a lot of you must be buying those as part of a closing gift. But we had one agent saying that when they're writing offers for buyers in mobile offer situations, they're telling the buyer, I'm gonna rent you a truck for 2 days to use, but also let's put in the contract and I'll pay for the seller to use a truck for 2 days to move their stuff. And so just again, we're gonna have it done. Where's Maggie? I'm pushing Maggie, Scott, and Jay. We're gonna have done in the next week a cheat sheet here of all of the things that you guys can have, from AdWorks to HomeBot to having a sign put up in your yard to all of these things, to the trucks that'll say the vendors, the costs, the contact. We're gonna get all that out to you in a marketing piece that you guys can use internally to make sure that we're making your lives easier and you're adding value to your clients. Corky's gonna give this the good guy away.
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Person.
Yeah, sure, if you want to. I wrote this down because getting old, memory's fading, right? But this agent's been licensed for about 27 years, and I put this in caps, always had a smile on his face.
Pardon drink in his hand.
That was a really big part of it. And an open, friendly demeanor. I watched him become a top producer with our former company before the merger. Watched him go through 08, which wiped out a bunch of people, and watched him lose almost everything, pick himself up by the bootstraps, never lost his sense of humor, his good attitude, his willingness to help others, been a good friend to me. You have to forgive me with my voice this morning. No water. That's okay. That's okay. Generous not only to the agents around him, but generous with his money and with his time, helping other people, philanthropic things. If you've ever been around him, he's got the big boisterous laugh. You can't miss him. Rick Canny.
Is Rick here?
Yeah, he's here.
Looks like this good guy award is becoming the old man club. Yes. See, you guys can be in my book, Dress for Success.
Dye my hair to give me gravitas. So I'm actually younger than
Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Appreciate it. Sunshine Kids event, is that Ashley?
It's on Monday.
Ashley left me. That's this upcoming Monday. Ashley, are we full on golfers for that, and are we full on sponsors? Do you need anything else for that?
Yes, booze.
Get in here and tell us what you need.
Fill the barrel. Barrel.
Is Ash coming in?
Yeah, she's
All right.
Yeah, so we're full on golfers, we're full on sponsors. We're putting raffle packages together tomorrow. So if you have any last minute donations you want to collect for that, be sure to drop that off to Gina's office and then we'll get that. We have a wheelbarrow sitting out here. We would like to fill that up with liquor and sell that as raffle tickets, and the winner would win the whole wheelbarrow of liquor. And I think
that'll be really good for the production.
Jack Toma won it last year. So right. I mean, I think he's barely 21, but so yeah, so that's always a fun thing. So there's a few things in there now, but it'd be great if we could get that overflowing, because that's always a big money winner. We have a couple hole-in-one challenges at the golf tournament, so hopefully most of you guys are going to be there and we'll have a lot of fun.
And we are talking about Sunshine Kids. We will have some oral auction items there at the event.
We'll have,
hopefully.
I think we have an oral auction item for the Lost Rail, which is the new golf course in Gretna. You haven't talked to Mamie, but
okay,
we've kind of pushed off the silent auction, online auction stuff. So whatever was donated for that, we're either going to keep it and hold it for when we do that, or some of those items have transferred over to raffle items.
And we're going to come in here periodically and auction off like a trip or a condo or some sporting memorabilia or something like that to
We got
continue
a
to raise
couple jerseys
to continue
so
to raise
far,
money.
so.
We're not expecting to raise $33,000 every time as we did last time for the parking spaces. So we appreciate all those guys doing that. Anyone that missed that watch that sales meeting. That was pretty incredible. I don't know if these guys are generous or had big egos, but either way, we do not care. Thank you for donating the money. Last thing, anything else, Ash? All right, is that, go ahead.
So for Sunshine Kids, we do have another Sunshine Kids event coming up August 28th. It is a mud volleyball tournament at Senate's in Papillion. We're still putting together sponsors for that, so it seems to be $120, 100% of the Sunshine Kids.
Thank you. We are going to have, and we're going to flip a house if we find one. And I'll finance that. So, guys, 2 weeks from today, next sales meeting will be in 3 weeks. 2 weeks from today, we're going to have Explosion here. Explosion is typically 170, 160 agents. 25 of them are some of our top agents speaking out of it. The rest of these, the other 140 plus, are agents around the country. The rest of it is agents around the country coming in here. Our next sales meeting, we will put a panel together of people that attended Explosion and their top takeaways. And these, I mean, we're going to have an agent in here from St. Louis. He's got 5 people on their team that does like 800 transactions a year. We're going to have some crazy productive people in here. My point in this, it will be a zoo from that Monday night, which we do tours, which I think is the 17th, if I'm not mistaken, 16th. All day the 17th, there'll be people in here, and then a half a day on, and actually on Monday, that Monday also, the Rethink Council that I run for Berkshire Hathaway, the Millennial Think Tank, will be in here, have a meeting. So Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we will have meetings in here. So as always, there'll be people roaming around here. You guys have always been gracious to talk to them and to greet them. And so I appreciate you guys, but it will be a crazy busy time there. So if we don't have anything else, it's my wife's birthday. Do you have the cake? You forgot the cake? Shit. Okay. With that, I guess we'll go get a cake, and let's call it a great day, guys. Continue to sell. Continue to build and nurture relationships. You're doing a great job. Thank you.